The end of PPV, how the UFC, Saudi Arabia, and streaming are changing boxing and MMA broadcasting. Pay-per-view has long underpinned the economics of the fight game, but its long-term viability is now under threat. With the UFC moving to Paramount, Saudi Arabia reshaping boxing and streaming giants entering the ring, the broadcast model for combat sports is being rewritten. Combat sports have long been synonymous with pay-per-view, PPV, but that may be about to change. The Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, and Zuffa Boxing's new broadcast deals with Paramount and Saudi Arabia's growing influence in boxing are challenging the traditional model, reshaping how both sports operate. PPV's long-term viability has been questioned before, yet recent media rights partnerships, changing audience habits, and wider shifts in broadcasting have put the approach under renewed scrutiny. Its demise would reshape the business of boxing and mixed martial arts, MMA. Why PPV? Boxing was an early pioneer of PPV, beginning with closed-circuit telecasts in the 1960s and 1970s featuring stars such as Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali. The latter's third fight against Joe Frazier, the Thriller in Manila, was watched by an estimated 100 million people worldwide. In the 1980s and 1990s, home television PPV replaced closed-circuit screenings. Since then, most of the sport's biggest fights have relied on the PPV model, which is deemed essential to making mouth-watering matchups possible thanks to the additional revenue it generates to pay fighters and other stakeholders. It's easy to see why boxing has stuck with this model, where a single PPV fight can cost as much as $90 in the US. Notably, Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s win over Manny Pacquiao in 2015 broke records in the States, delivering 4.6 million buys and grossing $410 million. In the UK, Sky Sports smashed the UK boxing PPV record 3 times in the 2010s, peaking at approximately 1.54 million for Anthony Joshua's rematch against Andy Ruiz Jr. in December 2019. For the UFC, MMA's leading promotion, PPV has also been highly lucrative. The 2.4 million PPV buys for UFC 229 in 2018, headlined by Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, has been betted only 3 times by professional boxing, one of which was McGregor's crossover bout against Mayweather Jr. in 2017. Having adopted PPV so early, combat sports have conditioned fans to expect to pay a premium to watch the biggest events. What's changed? Paramount seemingly came out of nowhere to poach the UFC's US broadcast rights from ESPN, signing a 7-year deal worth $1.1 billion annually from 2026. The fact that the TKO group-owned promotion was able to double the value of its rights deal wasn't the only surprise. Paramount Plus will stream all 13-numbered UFC events and 30 fight night cards at no additional cost to subscribers, bringing the UFC's PPV business to an end in its biggest market. The UFC wouldn't have needed much convincing to stop PPV, says Patrick Crakes, a strategic media consultant who also worked closely with the UFC during his time as a senior executive at Fox. The pay-per-view business over the past 4 or 5 years has been in steady decline. It was the only route 30 years ago, but there are now so many options. Crakes believe that the UFC is reducing the risk that comes with PPV through its lucrative Paramount deal, which also guarantees primetime exposure for select numbered events on CBS. Boxing, meanwhile, has been able to stage more blockbuster bouts thanks to Saudi Arabia's investment in the sport, spearheaded by Turki Al-Sheikh, chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, GEA. Initially, the stacked cards involving Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing and Frank Warren's Queensberry promotions were kept behind a paywall on DAZN. But Al-Sheikh shook things up in July when he announced that fights organized by Riyadh Season in the Ring, which he owns, would soon no longer be distributed on a PPV basis. On top of that, Paramount has now complemented its UFC arrangement by bagging broadcast rights in the US, Canada, and Latin America to Zuffa Boxing, the new venture backed by TKO and Saudi Arabia, including Al-Sheikh, that will be akin to Dana White's Contender Series in MMA. As with the UFC, PPV will play no part in a deal that cements Paramount as the leading combat sports broadcaster in the States. The entry of Netflix into boxing has also been significant. The platform streamed September's super fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford to more than 300 million subscribers worldwide at no extra cost. With MMA's top promotion, boxing's most influential power broker and the world's largest streaming service all avoiding PPV, the options for other combat sports properties appear to be narrowing.